What's up, riders? It's Jim from Caledonia Keys. So today we're going to do a oil and filter change on my buddy Ken's Triumph America. So I have previously done an oil change video, and I'm going to have to eat a few of my words there, and actually it has to do with talking about the oil. So in the past I had said, well, should you use synthetic oil? And the answer that I had at the time was, well, if you want to waste your money. Well, I'm actually gonna eat my words on that one. Definitely doing any oil changes, frequent oil changes are most important, whether you use conventional, semi-synthetic, or synthetic. But, you know, for the extra bit of money you're gonna spend on synthetic oil, it seems to me really that's the way to go. Let's get to it. Alright, so I'll leave a list in the description, but a few things you're going to need for your oil change other than your oil, filter, new crush washer. You're going to want a funnel. You may or may not need an oil filter wrench, especially depending whether or not it's been over-tightened in the past. And you're going to need something to remove your oil drain plug. Not to mention, you're going to want some kind of basin to catch your oil, some rags, and if you're smart, some gloves. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, we've already warmed up the bike for a few minutes because we want to get that oil flowing through the system, heated up, because that's going to help get the crap out when we actually drain the oil. The next thing we want to do is we want to take off the oil cap cover, because the worst thing we could do is take the drain plug out, drain the oil, and then find out we can't get the oil back in there. So the oil cap cover is going to be different for every bike. For this particular bike, Triumph has decided to go with this nice wide slot here that we don't actually have a tool for. So I think I mentioned in one of my other videos, Ken's got his handy little hammer here, not because we want to beat the cap off, but because it just so happens that the claw on the back fits in nicely. So we're just going to put that in there and give it a little turn, and we know we've got our oil cap loose, so we can take that off when we drain it. All right, so all I'm really looking to do here is to just crack the seal to start with. So I've got that loosened, and then I'm going to make sure I've got my little oil catch base underneath. Got my gloves on and just loosen her off. So we can loosen it off. I'm going to go until I feel I hit the end of the plug. All right, that way I can limit the amount of oil I'm going to get on me, gloves or not. Okay, so I feel I'm at the end. We'll just pull that free, and there we go. Actually, the oil doesn't look too bad. Now we're just going to let that drain. All right, so with the oil wrench, we just want to get it started. After which point, we should be able to get the rest away by hand. This is where having a bike lift actually is kind of nice, but you don't need it. Okay, so now we're all set to put the new oil filter on. So we've got an AMSOIL filter here. It's 99% efficiency at 20 micron. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just lightly coat the rubber ring with the new oil before we put it on. And you want to make sure that this rubber ring from your old filter actually came off, which it should have, but If it didn't, that could pose a problem. So we're going to line this up. I'm actually going to turn it the opposite direction to start with, and then I'm just going to finger tighten it. Okay, we don't want to over tighten, so once I've got it finger tight, I basically want to give it a half turn, and there we have it.
Yeah.
So some people will also pre-fill the filter before they put it on the bike. It's not really going to make a huge difference, but it's not going to hurt either. Like for a bike like this where the filter is going to be up and down, you're putting it on, no problem. If you want to add some oil to the filter first, go for it. If it's on an angle, you're probably further ahead just to let it fill the first time you turn the bike on. It's really just going to take a few seconds, and it's going to lower your oil level just that little bit to fill the space that's in the filter. Okay, so at this point we've got our drain plug and we got a new crush washer that we're just going to fit on our drain plug, and we're going to finger tighten it first in the drain plug hole before we snug it up. So just for the record, you probably can use your crush washer more than once. We're just changing it this time. Really, it's going to run you $2 to $3 at your local bike shop, so I just pick a few and keep them handy. All right, so just going to finger tighten the drain plug to start with the crush washer in place. Once we've got that tightened up, grab your wrench or your socket set, and we're going to want to give it just about a quarter turn. You do not want to over tighten this. The right way to do it is to use a torque wrench, and you'll find your torque settings in your owner's manual or your service manual. All right, so we already had our oil cap loosened and off. So we're just going to put our funnel in. We're going to top up the oil. So actually, when you go on the AMSOIL site, you can actually do a lookup by your bike or your car, whatever vehicle for that matter, and it'll actually tell you the capacity, so the amount of oil that you're going to need, which is kind of a handy feature, and we'll cover that a little bit more in a different video. Okay, so when I check the sight glass right now, we're right where we need to be, and I've put most of the oil in, just a little bit left of the 4th liter. Now we got to remember, I didn't put any oil in that oil filter, so we're gonna need to fire it up first and fill that oil filter up just to see how we're looking. So we're looking good. I'm just gonna put the rest of the 4th liter in, and then we'll fire it up. Now we've got all our oil in, so we're gonna put the drain plug cap on, take our handy dandy tool, and just snug it up a little. Again, we don't want to over tighten. All right, so if you remember, we didn't fill up the oil filter, so we're going to fire up the bike, let it run for about 30 seconds. Now that we've got the drain plug cap on, and that'll be filling up the oil filter for us. And then we're going to check the level. So at this point, we're also going to check, and we don't see any issues. We don't have any oil pressure light or anything coming on, so we should be good to go. Okay, so you want to hold the bike upright for the Triumph American. We're just checking that level, and you'll see you've got 2 lines to the right of the sight glass, and we want to be right, ideally right in the middle of them, which is right where we should be. So there you have it. Doing an oil change isn't really hard to do, and yet it's probably one of the most important maintenance items that you need to stay on top of, especially if you want to run your bike for a long time with minimal issues. So if this video helped you at all, don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you want to support the channel even more, like I'd mentioned, I recently became an AMSOIL dealer. I'll leave a link in the description, and you can check out my site at 5starengineoil.com. Till next time, ride on.